Let's delve right into it. When we talk about the tariffs introduced during the Trump administration, we're essentially looking at an economic tool designed to push towards self-reliance, encourage domestic production, and reduce trade deficits. The key was a 10% baseline tariff applied to nearly all imports. Now, this wasn't just about numbers. It was about reshaping the playing field, making U.S.-made goods more competitive, both at home and abroad. Eric's tariffs were particularly impactful in industries like manufacturing and steel, areas that have long been seen as the backbone of the American economy. The goal? Revitalize these sectors and, in doing so, strengthen our economic sovereignty.
Right, Eric. And you know what? That 10% baseline sends a loud and clear message. America's done with lopsided trade deals. We're putting our own industries first, finally backing the American worker. It's about time, isn't it?
Absolutely, Duke. But the big question here is the long-term strategy. Economists like Scott Bessent and Stephen Miran have framed these tariffs as more than protectionism. They see them as a stepping stone to reindustrialize America, a way to make our economy not just robust, but resilient. For instance, Miran argues that reindustrialization isn't just about dollars and cents. It's about national security. Think about this. If we're too reliant on imported goods, especially from geopolitical competitors like China, what happens if those supply chains are cut off during a crisis?
Plain and simple, we're vulnerable. And let's be honest, folks, the only way to fix that vulnerability is to bring those critical industries back home. This isn't just big talk. It's necessary. The steel and manufacturing sectors, for example, are critical. Without them, you can't build tanks, planes, or ships. National security's not just about troops and tech. It's about having the resources to back it up.
Well said. The framework Bessent and Miran have laid out makes the case that strategic tariffs aren't just economic. They're also geopolitically motivated. They argue that fostering domestic production reduces our reliance on foreign supply chains while also incentivizing job creation. And the 10% tariff was only the starting point. It's part of a bigger negotiation strategy. The aim: force trading partners, particularly the EU and China, to reconsider those long-standing trade imbalances.
Exactly, Eric. This isn't just some half-baked idea. It's a calculated move to level the playing field. We've had decades of hollowing out our industrial heartland while watching other countries exploit our open markets. Enough's enough. These tariffs? They're saying, step up or we're not playing along anymore.
And it's already started reshaping the conversation. By leveraging tariffs as a negotiation tool, the U.S. has gained the upper hand in redefining trade relationships. The push toward economic nationalism is polarizing, sure. But at its core, it aims to restore balance, both economically and strategically.
Couldn't agree more. This is about protecting our future, standing strong, and frankly, giving power back to the American workforce. Long overdue, if you ask me.
Now, while those strategic tariffs reshaped trade relationships and pushed for economic sovereignty, they weren't without consequences. Countries like China and the EU responded swiftly with their own retaliatory tariffs, targeting key American exports: soybeans, automobiles, and even whiskey. This response brought about not just a trade dispute, but fears of a global trade war that could destabilize the broader world economy.
And here's the rub, Eric. Those retaliatory tariffs? They're aimed right at the heart of our industries. It's strategic. They know what they're doing. But guess what? It also shows just how dependent they are on the U.S. market. This is a showdown, plain and simple. They're testing our resolve.
Exactly, Duke. And this brings us to the broader concern. How do we navigate these economic and diplomatic battles without collapsing the international order? The green, yellow, and red bucket policy framework that Scott Bessent and others have outlined aims to classify trading partnerships. Essentially, countries in the green bucket, those who align closely with U.S. interests, get the most favorable terms. Meanwhile, those in red face higher tariffs and reduced access to American markets.
It's smart, puts our allies on notice, and tells our rivals to shape up or ship out. Take China. They're already grappling with the tariffs by diversifying their markets. But guess what? That's a sign of our leverage, not theirs. And let's not forget, if we bring manufacturing back home, they lose even more ground.
True, but it's not without risks. The EU, for instance, has been a historic ally. Yet these tariffs have strained relationships and sparked criticism, even from our closest partners. There's a fine line between asserting economic independence and alienating key players on the global stage. If mishandled, we could see a complete realignment of trade alliances, possibly even a shift toward greater cooperation between China and the EU against the US.
That's why we've got to stay strong. Diplomatic finesse is fine, but we can't back down. The tariffs? They're part of a bigger strategy to secure our economy and our allies' loyalty. If some relationships fray along the way, so be it. We're prioritizing American interests for a change.
Fair point, Duke. But economic nationalism needs to be balanced with international leadership. If the green, yellow, and red buckets work as intended, they could reshape global trade in a way that benefits not just the US, but also fosters a more equitable system. It's a gamble, one that will require careful, deliberate moves to avoid long-term fallout.
And that's the key. Deliberate moves. This isn't about picking fights for the sake of it. It's about laying a foundation for strength and resilience. And make no mistake, Eric, if we hold the line, we come out on top. That's the mission. That's what counts.
Well, Duke, if there's one thing this episode makes clear, it's that tariffs are more than a financial tool. They're a statement. They're reshaping how the U.S. engages with the global economy, for better or worse. And with that, I think we'll close out today's discussion. Thanks for joining us as we unpack the strategies and global tensions behind these economic shifts.
Yeah, thanks for tuning in. Stay sharp out there, folks. America's playing to win, and it's long overdue. Catch you next time.